Hey everyone, this is Erman Barati with MixKnowledgy. I am here with my co-founder and co-host, Brandon Waits. Everybody say hi to Brandon. Today we have a very, very special guest in casting director Lucy Bevan, who's cast for such films as Cinderella, Maleficent, Alice Through the Looking Glass, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, Snowden, Mr. Holmes, Fifth Estate, and the upcoming Beauty and the Beast, which I know we all can't wait to see. Everyone give it up for Lucy Bevan. I know the music
Thank
now,
you.
but that's how... Yeah. So first and foremost, you are the first casting director we have on the show. So we truly appreciate your time. This would be a lot of fun for not only actors but filmmakers as well. We'd like to know, fresh out the gates, how did you get started in entertainment in the first place, and why casting specifically as a career path? Why casting over something like production or directing?
I think the short answer to that would be that I started off as a runner.
Okay.
You know, making tea and answering the phone and doing errands. I knew that I always loved movies. E.T. had a huge impact on me as a kid, a massive impact on me. And I really wanted to work in the movie business. I didn't know anybody. All I knew about the movies was that you go to the Odeon cinema and you watch the movie and you get transported. I didn't have any contacts at all within the business. So when I left university, I got this is obviously pre-internet. So I wrote letters to the two, and I thought, you know, I'm organized. I'd set up a theatre company at university, which had done very well. So I thought I'll try and get into production. So I wrote to the two best producers that I could think of. I remember some of them. I wrote to Ishmael Merchant of Merchant Ivory. I wrote to Tim Bevan and Eric Fellner at Working Title. I wrote to like 10 producers and said, you know, I really want to work. Can I come and be a runner? And I got, I think, 3 replies from assistants saying no. And to those letters, I went and knocked on the door and turned up and said, I really want to work. So that's how I did it. I knocked on. I mean, you're asking about casting, which obviously comes later. But in terms of how I got into the business in the first place, it was right. Like that. Yeah.
Wow. Very cool. And so why specifically, you know, casting over production?
So why casting? Yeah. So the next part of your question is why casting. And so there I was as a runner. And I was making tea and doing dry cleaning and listening and filing and being so happy. I was so thrilled to be where I was. I was working for a film producer called Sarah Radcliffe, who's a wonderful woman. And I worked with her, and then I became her assistant. We worked on a film called The War Zone. It was Tim Roth's directorial debut. In fact, I think the only film he's directed. And I became I became the production assistant on that. So I worked as a production assistant for a couple of years. I loved it, but I realized the more and more I did it, once I was in the door of, you know, the beginnings of sort of the movie making process, I realized that the area that I was particularly drawn to was casting, because I just love performance and I loved seeing actors make a role work. And I felt that that's where I really wanted to work was in the casting process, in helping to put the right actor in the right part. That was just so exciting to me. So I then started trying to, apprenticing myself to a casting director. I really wanted to work for Mary Selway because she was a great casting director. Mary cast With Nell and I and Out of Africa and Gorillas in the Mist and Star Wars, the original, and all of those things. And so I wanted to work for her and learn from her. So I was assistant to a bunch of different casting directors until I got to work for Mary eventually, and I worked with her until she died. So I don't know if that answers your question about why casting, but that was really why. You know, yeah.
Absolutely, perfect.
Okay, well, thanks again for calling in. A lot of our callers today are actually, actors, actresses, and you may notice things that the actors don't. What constitutes a bad audition? Maybe not just their performance, but as they walk in or show up, are there things that you notice that they might not?
I think this is a really, really good question, and I'm really glad that you ask it, because I think that this is something that actors could really benefit from learning about. I think actors go through, so many actors here in the UK where I work go through drama school, and they have so much craft and so much skill in acting, but in terms of how to do an audition, that's another set of skills that I think is as important to learn, because in order to be brilliant at your job, once you've got a part, you've got to get the part in the first place. So I think it's a very good question. And my answer would be a few things. I would say turn up on time for a start. Secondly, if you happen to be late because something went wrong or there was a traffic nightmare or whatever, I don't want to hear about it. Leave all of that stuff out the door. So for a start, I won't even know if someone's late sometimes because I don't do the scheduling. My assistant does it. And an actor will come in and go, I'm so sorry, and oh my goodness, and there was traffic and there was this and that. I'm already bored. I don't want to hear about it. You know, I've been seeing actors all day. I'm busy. I want to work. I want to get to the point. So leave your whatever drama you've had between leaving home and getting in the room, leave it outside. Be disciplined. So that's my first thing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
because you know, come in cleanly, leave cleanly. When it's over, it's time to go. Thank you very much. Shake your hand. Off you go. You know, I don't want to hear about, you know, leave all of your suitcases and your bags and your cups of coffee. Leave that all downstairs or somewhere else or outside. You know, come in cleanly, leave cleanly. I know this sounds really basic, but I honestly think it's helpful. And as far as a good audition, because that was about entering the room, so we've got in the room. As far as about a good audition, I would say be really prepared with the scene that you've got. Be prepared so that you're ready to take notes and make adjustments. So you read the scene with me, and I think it's good. But what I want to know from this actor is, can they take direction? That's the most important thing for me to know. So sometimes I'll give a note to an actor just to see, you know, they may have nailed it first time and had exactly the right interpretation of the scene, but I will give a note just to see that they can take notes. So be prepared, know your scene so that you're ready to make an adjustment. And the other thing I would say is that so often when you've put your 3 years of training into this one short scene, I think the small parts are very difficult to audition because it's so easy to do too much with a small amount of dialogue. And just remember, I think a good note to remember as an actor is to, when you're reading the scene, listen and respond. In other words, listen to, if I'm reading in with you, listen to the dialogue of the other person and then respond so that you keep it real. Is that helpful?
Wow. A lot of great advice.
Great.
Yeah. Hear that, folks? No excuses.
And
no excuses.
I'm going to give two more technical bits of technical things as well. Don't wear orange. It's really unfriendly on skin tone. Bright, very bright colours that are quite close to skin tone can be quite distracting. And also stripes. Stripes jump on camera, so you'll never see someone wearing thin stripes on a TV show because they jump on camera. So don't wear thin stripes.
Wow. Okay. No thin stripes. No orange.
Wow.
And no excuses.
Look, you know what? Some people look really great in orange. I think that perhaps that was a bit misleading. What I mean is, don't wear a very, very bright color. Just wear something neutral. Just wear something quite neutral, I think.
Noted. Very, very good.
That's great advice.
Yeah. The next question is more so a fun one, I guess. If you don't mind looking back a little bit in your career. Obviously, with you starting casting in the 1990s, you've been through so many casting calls. Has there been maybe a casting regret at all? Like maybe you cast on someone who eventually got their major break on another film?
Did you say, have I had any casting regrets? Is there anything I look back at and think, yeah, I have. I've got two, but I can't talk about them because it wouldn't be fair on the actors. Okay. There's one specifically in a movie I did quite early, and it's it still bugs me to this day. Okay. I really wanted, I really wanted an actor who's very brilliant for this part, and I had to fight really, really hard on another part in this movie to get this actor who was the main part, and I had to really fight to get him because he was doing another film and it was complicated. Anyway, the financiers then said that they want this other actor for the younger character, and I kind of gave up the fight a bit. I went, okay, fine. It was, I should have fought harder for this other actor, and the film would have been better for it. So is that a regret? Yes, I would say it is, but it was a learning curve. Ultimately the director went for this actor, but I feel like if I'd pushed harder on this other guy who would have been better, the film was good, by the way. This is quite a well-known film, but so it's just a learning curve. It's about, always fight for what you believe in.
There you go.
Great. So from today to the 90s, has there been any major changes in how casting has been done from then to now?
Yes. very different, because when I was working for Mary, again, I'm going to say it again, this is pre-internet. So, there was no cast it. All the taping that we did was on, we had to upload onto we had to put things on a VHS. So I remember going in with these clunky VHSs and having to kind of like look at an actor and fast forward, and it wasn't very tech savvy at all. And so really I remember being Mary's assistant. She would go into the room with the director and sit and talk about actors, and she'd have 10 headshots of, let's say less than that, but we were talking about a big leading role, and she'd come in with like some ideas, and she would talk about these actors, and you couldn't just nip around on cast it or something, like showing their work, because there just wasn't that technology. So it was a very different process back then. Obviously, jumping forward quite a bit, because of being able to self-tape, which is obviously something that wasn't a possibility back then, that opens up a whole new slew of opportunities, which I think is a great thing, and also can be tricky, because I think sometimes for actors, it's easier for an agent to go, self-tape for this, when you could look at it and go, I'm never going to get this part in a million years, And I think as a young actor, it must be very difficult to know which of these self-tapes is it worth focusing on. I think that's challenging, but we can talk more about that.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of segues to the next question, because I know a major difference is, nowadays you have to go social media. A lot of social media stars, like YouTubers, they are signed to agencies like UTA, WME, Paradigm. For you, is social media important for breaking in new stars? Is it important to you?
Honestly, no, it's not. Just once or twice in my experience has the number of Instagram followers come up, with the studio, in terms of how bankable somebody is, or, how well known somebody is. So occasionally you'll get that, but that doesn't really make a big impact on me, social media. No, honestly, it doesn't.
Got you. Okay. And I have a question that kind of just going back to the business side of things. Because I read an article in which you're talking about your agent, and it looks pretty cool. That's how I found you. Sometimes you forget that even casting directors have reps. So how is the working relationship between you and the agent? People don't know that casting directors have to audition for jobs in a sense as well, right? Like, it's something that's kind of surprising.
My agent is brilliant, and I am deeply grateful to him and to Paul and Giacomo for doing my deals, basically. It's somebody who can represent me when it comes to the financials. I'll get a job and I'll be so thrilled I've got it. I'll be like, pay me whatever. And those guys actually make it affordable for me to, they do my deals for me, basically, which I'm very grateful for. Because it's easier to be represented by someone else than it is to do. I do all the deals on the films that I'm working on, but it's easier for someone else to do my deals for me. So that's why I have them. It protects you.
Very good.
But I do have to audition. I have to go I have to go and meet for things for sure. The thing I'm working on now, I'm doing a TV show that David Hare wrote, and I had to go and quote unquote audition for it. I had to go and meet. I get very, very nervous doing that, and it makes me respect actors so much that they have to do that the whole time. I don't know. I find it very difficult. I love working with directors that I've worked with before, mainly because you don't have to audition. But I love working with the same directors because you get a shorthand. But also it means you don't have to go and put yourself up for something. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So when it, to you casting, are there major differences in casting for a major picture versus independent, smaller pictures?
Yeah, this is another really good question. I've worked on films with really small budgets, and I've worked on really big budget films. And honestly, the process is kind of the same. The great thing about working on a Disney film like Cinderella, for example, is that they have the resources to pay you properly so that you can really do a big search. So, for example, the role of Cinderella, we did a massive, massive search on that part. We read hundreds of girls. We looked all over the world. And I love that, because it means that you get the opportunity to meet all of those girls and really, and read them and see them. And so you get to kind of mine this theme of one age group. And that is that's great to be able to do that. On an independent film, you just don't have as long to do it. You know, they don't have the resources, but you've got to get to the same result. But the process is, it's not very different, apart from you just have more resources to look further on a bigger film, I guess.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. I know there's something that's on everybody's mind, which is the upcoming movie, of course, Beauty and the Beast. I know you can't talk too much about it, but on the casting end, we'd love to know. I loved Emma, I loved Dan. So, what made them ideal for the roles of the leads?
You know, I had such a great experience casting that film, first and foremost. I would just say Bill Condon is a true gentleman and an absolute delight to work with, and I love working for Disney. Randy Hiller, the head of casting at Disney, is brilliant. So what an honor to be asked to cast that movie. One thing I will tell you, just anecdotally, is that when I was asked to do it, I sat with David Hoberman, the producer. I'd worked with Bill Condon before. I'd done 2 films with him before, so we knew each other. He asked me to do it. I went to meet his producer, David Hoberman, and I said, David, look, I would love to do this film, but there were 2 problems. One, I'm pregnant, and I'm going to have a baby during pre-production. And the second is, I've never cast a musical. And he was so cool. He was like, you can do it. You know, if you think you can do it, you can do it. And I said, well, I would love to. So I'm very grateful to Disney and to Bill and David for giving me that opportunity when I had a baby in the middle of it.
So cool.
Who came along to all the auditions and was there for the whole thing, and it worked. You know, we put a great cast together, and I'm really thrilled with the cast. So going back to your original question of what made them right for the role, I mean, look, Emma was on board pretty much before I came on. She was always the person that they talked about for that role because she is incredibly smart. She's incredibly intelligent. She was attached to another version of Beauty and the Beast for Warner Brothers. This is no secret. And then when Disney were making it, you know, he was basically on board before it. I did the rest of it after Emma. But she's she's very smart, and she can sing, you know, and she looks like Belle. So it wasn't that hard.
I love her. Yeah.
Look, I don't mean to be flippant about it, but she's great for that part. And she's very bookish, as you know, as is Belle in the original animation. She does brilliantly in the film. The Dan question it had more of an interesting route because Dan Stevens had done a small part for Bill in the film we did, Fifth Estate, with Benedict Cumberbatch, and Dan took a small part in that film, and Bill absolutely loved working with him. So when that idea came up during the casting process, you know, Bill loved it because he loved working with Dan. So Dan auditioned. He went on tape in New York with Bernie Telsey, who was doing work out of New York for it. And Dan did this brilliant audition. He sang. What no one knows about Dan is he's got this beautiful singing voice. And he did this, he sang on tape with Bernie, and he did this one take where he looks up and those blue, blue, blue eyes literally like shone out. And I was like, that's the take we'll use. So that was the take when I cut it together to send it to Disney. That's the take we used. But he's got this very soulful, deep voice, Dan. And so much of that character was about the kind of physicality of it and the look and the CGI, the combination of that deep, soulful voice, his wit, and those blue, blue eyes and his singing voice lent themselves well to the part.
Wow, very cool. We look forward to that next month. And fun fact, we actually know Todd Lieberman, who's the other producer for the film. So he's been a pleasure speaking to you as well. So I know the team behind it is very tight-knit and very cool people. So kudos to being part of that team. We are going to jump into the Q&A portion right now. Our first caller is Ben from Beverly Hills. Ben, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Ben.
How are you doing today?
Hi, Lucy. I'm good. Thank you so much for being here today.
Not at all. So far, so good.
Yeah, you've done brilliantly. My question for you is, after all the controversy on the lack of diversity in Hollywood, what's your role as a cast director in ensuring equal representation?
I think to be colorblind, primarily, to me, you know, when I read a script and I look at a part, I sometimes flip men to women when I'm reading. I'll think, why does this person have to be a man? Why can't they be a woman? Because often scripts are written with more male roles than female. So I like to mix that up a bit. Not so much the other way around, honestly, because there usually are more male roles than female. So that's one thing, kind of gender-wise, and then also just sort of diversity-wise, it's always about trying, you really, now it's become a big debate. I think it's the conversation is so now up and running, and it's really working, I think. So I think one's job as a casting director is to mix things up as much as you possibly can. And it's challenging. It's sometimes really hard to do that because there's resistance but yeah, that I would say that anyone of any color can play any part, honestly, unless they're obviously specifically meant to be from somewhere very, very specific. But yeah, I try and do that a lot, and it's amazing in the past how much resistance I have had, but I've always enjoyed challenging that, pushing it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Ben. Great question.
But I think that I really think that conversation is well up and running now, and I think that this year's Oscar nominations are reflective of that. And I think it's really exciting. It's an exciting time to be, to be a diver. I think it's an exciting time for actors. I think that the roles are more open now, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Up next, we have Christina from Seattle. Christina, can you hear us?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Christina.
Hi. I know it's been a while, but first I just want to say congratulations on your baby. I'm sure it's a toddler by now, but
she's 2 now. Yeah, she's 2. That's how long it takes to get a movie made.
Oh, yeah. I have a 1-year-old, so I kind of understand.
Thank you.
But anyway, my question is, often actors get typecast. Do you think that actors should only apply for roles within those parameters? For example, I look like I'm from the Midwest, and I'm a mom, so I've been trying to apply for mom/friend roles. Is that a mistake? Should I be going outside of those boxes?
That's a good question. Should you be going for roles that you feel you can play?
Right.
I'm sure you don't just look like a mom. I'm sure you look like lots of different things as well as a mom. I think, if you're trying to, if you're a young actor and you're trying to get work, I think you want to get as much experience as you can. You want to work as much as you can. I would go for the things you're probably going to get. I would go for stuff that you feel comfortable with. And then when everything's really underway and you're in a position of choice, when you can say no to things, that's when you can be more daring, surely, and go,
right.
You know what, I'm not going to say yes to that friend role or that mum role, as you put it. And I'm really going to hang out for this doctor role that I think is more interesting and challenging for me. So I think, for now, I would, why not go for the ones that you feel that you've got more chance of getting.
Okay.
Why not? But I bet you look like a whole lot more than a mum, as well as lots of other things.
Okay. No, thanks. I really appreciate, because I know a lot of times you do, like, you want to be comfortable with who you are when you are reading, because obviously you want the casting director to see you in that role.
Yes.
So to start off that way and then be braver once you are more established makes a lot of sense.
I think that's right. And also remember that if you're meeting, so often I'll meet an actor and I'm reading with them in the room and I'm thinking, this person's so wrong for this part, but you know what, they could be really right for this other thing I'm doing in this other part. So really, The great thing to remember during the casting process that you're establishing a relationship with that casting director when you're in the room and you're trying your best at a role that you're never going to get because you're not right for it. But what you're doing is you're showing them that you're really talented and you're really good and you're really hardworking and you're really prepared and you can take notes and you can make adjustments. And that casting director, this is the subtext of what's going on in the room. That casting director is thinking, okay, she's not right for this, but shit, she could be right for this. Right. That's what's happening in the room. It's not just about the role you're coming in for. There's a lot of other stuff going on.
Okay, well, thank you.
Not at all. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you so much, Christina. Up next, we have Deanna from Norfolk, Virginia. That's my home state. Deanna, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for calling.
No, definitely. Thank you for taking my question. So my question is, it's kind of a two-part question, but what's your recommendation for actors starting out as you did with no experience and no connections? And do you feel that attending university or training is mandatory to gain an acting career?
I don't think it's mandatory at all. I think there's lots of different ways to get you where you need to be. My advice on that would be, if you're a young person starting out, is do it. You know, set up a theatre company with, I mean, I don't know how much theatre is where you are, but like set up, you know, you can make short films with friends, you can do theatre, you can do whatever you can in order to afford it. And goodness knows what other work you have to do alongside, you know, working as a waiter or whatever you're doing. But you know, rather than sending letters out and hoping that one of them is going to touch the moon, I would flex those muscles and do it yourself. Set it up yourself. Don't wait for someone to come and, you know, give you permission. That's what I feel like. I know that, I don't know how realistic that is, but that's what I would say.
Well, that actually kind of leads into my current situation. So I just recently turned 30. I have a 2-year-old myself, and I've realized that my entire life I'm not doing what I'm passionate about. I've never even told anyone I have a dream of acting. So if I don't do it now, I feel like I never will. So I'm just now really starting to get my feelers out there and see what I need to do to gain experiences, you know, get chances. And I'm 30, but I look like I'm 20. So I guess I have one more question. So when they ask for particular people, when they're seeking roles, they say like 25 to 30 or 20 to 30. Yeah. Should I put in for younger roles? Like, I mean, I look like I'm still in high school.
Definitely, if you look younger. If you look younger, there's no point in going for parts that you're probably not going to get if you don't look like you're 30. Definitely,
Right.
Go for the younger part. Yeah. I would say so. Look, it's difficult because I don't know how it, you know, I don't live there and I can't remember which, I was told at the beginning of this which state you're from, but
Virginia,
remind me where you live. You're from Virginia. So I don't know what the scene is in Virginia. You know, I know what the scene is in London or the scene is in England, so I don't know what is going on there in terms of you being able to generate your own chances. And if you've got a kid as well, you know, that's difficult because your time is much more restrained than it was when you're, you know, a young person who's got all the time in the, you know, before children, all the time in the world. So that's adds its whole other level of complication. But as you said yourself, you know, if that's what you really, really believe in, you've just got to give it your best shot, haven't you? I mean, I'm very intrigued to know how you get on. I hope it goes very well and you get a break.
Well, maybe one day you'll be casting me, hopefully.
I'll be the one. But there's no actor who's out there right now who's doing brilliantly who hasn't been through this. Like no one just jumps the queue and becomes a movie star. Like everyone auditioned, everyone got rejected, everybody who's doing it. I worked with Dustin Hoffman. I cast a film that he directed, and he was so interesting talking about that 13 years he spent waiting tables and, you know, sleeping on the friend's sofa and all the rest of it before he got The Graduate, you know, and getting turned down. And it's so interesting that you forget that everyone, it's tough. It's very tough.
I think the financing is like the toughest part about it. To be honest, I can't afford acting school. And I do have a career that pays well. Right. I mean, I do have a career that pays well. I just bought my first home, and, you know, having to fly out for auditions in different parts of the country or different parts of the world, I can't afford right now. You know, headshots are even expensive. So just really finding a way to make it affordable, not miss my job and lose work, and then, you know, give it all up for a part where I can't pay the bills. That's the biggest fear. I don't fear the rejection.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot to think about. I mean, are there any acting classes you can do in the evening after work to just get things going?
That's what I've been trying to look into for my local area. Honestly, I work nights right now. We do a shift bid every 6 months at my job, so our schedules change every 6 months, and you never know what you're going to get. You're bidding with 1,000 other people. So being realistic. So I'm even thinking of, you know, in order to pursue this, I might have to change the job that I have right now to make acting a career and you know, find some sort of a balance so that I can still gain income while pursuing my dream.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. And the only reason to do it is if you absolutely can't not do it, I think. But it sounds like you're well placed and you're really thinking about it. I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you so much, Deanna. Up next, we have Julian, also from Norfolk or Virginia Beach. Hey, Julian, how you doing today?
Hey, guys, I'm doing great. How y'all doing?
Good, good. Thank you so much for calling in.
Hey, thank you so much for your time. The insight so far has been phenomenal, so I thank you for that. My question is, you mentioned earlier about having to fight for different actors and things of that nature. What does it look like? What do those conversations look like when you have a producer or director who's like, no, we're going to do it this way, and you're like slapping yourself in the head? Like,
yeah, after mentioning that word fight, I did think to myself that was a bit of a strong word. I think it's, what do those conversations look like? Look, what you're most of all trying to do when you're casting something is to realize the director's vision of what they want. So the most important thing is listening rather than fighting. You're listening to the director. You're trying to, some directors are very clear at articulating exactly what they need from a character, and some aren't. And some directors, you kind of figure it out as you go along, whereas some are like, some are very good at, as I say, articulating it. So then you can go and kind of search for that. And the ideal scenario is when you get on with that, you see their vision, and it's fighting. It's not about fighting. It's more about helping people see someone differently.
Right.
So if you really believe, I really believe this actor can play this part, but you know what? They've got a terrible hairstyle. You can't even see their face when they're really, So I will do things like, I'll say to an actress, and you know what, when you come in, will you just wear this, pin your hair back, do this, you're basically trying to help. It's basically trying to help actors get a part more than trying to drum into it. Rather than going head to head with a director and saying, you're wrong, I'm right. It's more about trying to, just to bring an actor that you believe in to the attention of a director, and also helping make it their idea. The director has to own the choice.
Right.
The director has to feel like, this is a great person to be in my movie, and directors need to own that choice. So it's quite Machiavellian sometimes. That's what it can look like in a way. And also by just doing your homework and I do a lot of cutting of material. I'm married to an editor. My husband, among many other things, is an editor, and he helped me early on. But he helped me early on. Like, I'll pull relevant scenes from other things and show them to the director, and do that very carefully, so they, you show them exactly what you want them to see. And
that's cool.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. I think that's what it looks like.
Well, thank you for clarifying. I appreciate that.
Not at all.
Thank you so much, Julian. Thank you so much. Up next, I don't want to butcher your name, but up next we have Vasia, I believe, from Burbank, California. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hi.
Did I say your name right?
Hi. You said it correctly, yes.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking my question, Miss Bevan. My question for you today is, the minute that you get a script in your hands, what's the process like for you to find the right people to cast?
It's a really good question, and I'll read a script, and sometimes I'm reading a script, and certain actors are jumping out of the character. That it's so well written, and the characterizations are so clear, and I'll literally have actors pinging off the page at me in my imagination. Or other times you read a script and it's quite dense, and you can't figure out at all like who would be, So the first thing you've got to do is just really understand that script, like Okay, I'm not sure if I'm answering this very well. Your question was, what's the process from reading it?
Yes, that is.
Yeah. So I think what the process is. So I'll read the script. Sometimes, as I say, I will read the script, and then basically the process, the literal process, is that I break the script down. Well, Emily or Olivia in my office break the script down. So I'll break the script down. I will break all the characters down. I will start with a lead. You're building any piece to me is an ensemble. You're starting with your leads, and then you're working out from there. And you're building a company of actors. So you'll start with a lead part, And then you will obviously have some kind of, financing, in order to, depending on what the budget level is, you're bringing ideas to the table I'll just bring ideas to the director and sit down and talk about them. That's what I'll do on every part. Does that answer your question?
That does a lot, actually. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and the first thing we'll do is just sit there and, in the case of Beauty and the Beast, we'll start with the Beast, we'll start with Belle, the Beast, and Belle not so much because that was kind of already done, but you'll start with the Beast and Gaston. Those two roles we spent a lot of time on. And then you'll sort of work out from there. And then you go, and by the time you get into the smaller roles, generally speaking, it will be me just auditioning people and showing them to the director. But the lead roles you're starting with, I will bring a list of ideas and I'll come into the director and we'll sit down and we'll go through it and I'll bring ideas and present them, and it will be a combination of the director telling me what they need and me going, how about this person, and like that. It's a collaboration.
Awesome. I love that. That's really cool. Thanks so much.
Not at all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lucia. Lucy, you've been a trooper. I know it's bedtime. We have one more question.
Okay.
This comes from Chelsea. Chelsea, can you hear us? Hey, how are you?
Can you hear me?
Hi,
yes,
Chelsea.
Ma'am.
Hi, Lucy. Thank you so much for everything so far. It's been great. My question for you is, you mentioned something about knocking down doors, and I've always been really good at being persistent and going after what I want. But how would you separate yourself from everybody else, I guess, in the sense of, I want to do mostly voiceover work. How would you go about it to add that like little extra touch, or putting yourself out there above the rest?
That's such a good question, because the idea now of me knocking down a door is so mortifying to me. I can't believe I did that when I was young. When I was a teenager, I was like 20, 21 when I did that. And I can't believe that I did. I can't believe I had the confidence to do that. And I'm sort of amazed that I did. But in my case, it did work. In answer to your question of how does one go about doing that, voiceover work, I don't know much about voiceover work, if I'm honest. It's very specific voiceover work. I mean, look, I get actors writing to me. They send me tea bags so I can make myself a cup of tea, or they'll have they'll have a calendar made up of their face or whatever it is, or they'll just send me a straight letter. I don't know. I honestly think that when someone writes to me like an intelligent, sensible letter that is thoughtful and sensible, that to me that has more impact than a chocolate biscuit or a tea bag. I get a lot of letters, and sometimes I'll just read one that, and I'll see a headshot and I'll go, oh, hang on a minute, that headshot, that face, that resonates with this part that I'm looking for. It's generally timing, honestly. It's less about you coming to the front of the pile and more about timing. I'll get a pile of headshots on my desk and I'll be looking for a specific type of person, and happily that day there is a headshot of someone who could be that person. Does that make sense? I'm sorry, that's not the answer that you want to hear, probably. But I would say just research the person you're writing to. If you want to do voiceovers and you're writing to a voiceover agency, you could say, dear blah blah, I know that you represent this person who I think was so talented in this or so good at doing that, and so you've researched the person that you're writing to, rather than just sending out a generic kind of mail splurge everywhere. That's what I would do. I would research. I would really spend time focused on the person that you're writing to and what you want to say to them that's relevant and that could connect you in some way.
That's a really great tip. Okay, that kind of answers my question.
Okay, good. I'm glad that's helpful. I'm nervous when I'm asked advice, because I just don't want to give anyone wrong advice, and I think everyone has to, no, but I mean it, everyone has to get to where they need to get to in their own way. Right. And, and I said that about orange, but orange is a great color, looks good on some people,
Right.
I just, I am nervous of giving advice, but
no worries.
I hope it's helpful anyway.
Absolutely. Lucy, I know it's 11 p.m. your time.
Yeah.
Would you like to take a few more? Do you have to go?
If there's anyone, I could maybe do 2 more questions and then I ought to go.
Okay. No worries. Folks, I'm going to unmute everybody, and if you have a question, please feel free to jump in. Not everybody at one time, obviously, but I'm going to unmute everybody. So if you have a question, go ahead and ask Lucy.
I have a question.
Hey, what's your name and where are you from?
Hi, this is Kathy from Chicago.
Oh,
Hi,
hey,
Kathy.
how are you doing today?
Hi. Lucy, I just want to ask you what your take is when you're casting those smaller roles, like the under 5 or one-liners. Recently, I've been going in for those kind of auditions, and it's just been really tough because you're trying to, do your best work with only such, small dialogue. How do you go about casting those smaller roles?
Look, it's another really good question, and I think that going in for a 2-line part or a 1-line part is much, much harder than going in for like a part with a whole great big scene of dialogue, because you're trying to make a huge impression on 2 lines of dialogue. It's very, very difficult, and sometimes I'll have actors come in and they put 3 years of training into 1 line, and it's way too much. So my advice would be is that, hopefully, you're going into these parts, and hopefully you'll get enough of them that your parts will start growing in size and this problem will go away. But for now, all you can do is keep it real. Just try and keep it real as much as you can. And if you go in and you do it and you keep it real and the person goes, okay, thank you very much, you can always say, listen, do you want me to try it another way? Because I can't bear the idea of actors going in and not being given a chance to try it another way. So you can always say that, do you want me to try it another way? But all you can do is just keep it as natural and as real as possible. And it may feel like you're doing nothing, but I think you just got to keep it real.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much.
And I really hope that the parts that you go in for are getting bigger as you go on.
Okay. Anyone like to ask the final question of the night?
I have a question.
Okay. What's your name and where are you from?
This is Fit2 calling from California.
Okay. How are you doing? I know you.
Hi.
Good. Hi, Armand, and hello, Lucy. I'm calling because I have a niece who is passionate about acting and very passionate about Disney. She's not able because she's in school right now, so I'm calling and listening in for her. And I'm learning a whole lot of stuff too, so this is amazing. My question is, what is your biggest tip for those who might go into a role for casting a part and they get anxiety and freeze up? What's your biggest tip for that?
If you get really nervous?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what my advice would be. Nerves are your friend. Nerves are important because nerves are there to help you focus. You get nervous. I think nerves are kind of tied to, adrenaline in some way. And I think that when you feel really nervous before you go in an audition, you say, this is my chance, I'm here and I'm going to mess it up and I'm going to freak out and I'm starting to have a panic attack and my breath is going really short and I'm going to fail. That you have to, those nerves are your friends, they're not your enemy, they're there to help you focus. So don't be afraid of them. Okay. And if you go in the room and you're really so nervous, you can say to the person, I'm feeling quite nervous. And that person should, if they're a half-decent human being, say, listen, take a breath. It's going to be okay, but don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of being nervous.
Okay.
And they're there to help you focus and make them. Yeah, that's what I would say. I hope that's helpful.
Okay, I love that, and I love that part how you said just to kind of authentically say, I'm really nervous.
And that person in the room, we've all been there. We've all been nervous. We all know what it feels like to be nervous. So that person, they should. It's our job as casting directors to put you in an environment where you can do your best. We want you, the actor, walking in the room to do their best. So we should make it as comfortable as possible.
Thank you so much. I will pass that information on to my niece. So great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Lucy, you've been a pleasure. It's been an honor to speak with you today. Would you like to share any social media pages or any official sites that you can give everyone?
No, I don't really do social media, I'm afraid. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. No worries. Everyone, you can follow us at MixKnowledgy, MixKnowledgy on Twitter and Instagram. Once again, Lucy Bevan, Beauty and the Beast. Check it out. March, I want to say 17th?
That's right.
Yes, awesome. Very cool. Lucy, thank you so much again for your time. And everyone, we'll see you next month.
Thank you, Lucy.
Okay, bye.